It's a great day for a number of reasons. One, it's a sunny day here in Middlesbrough, one of the 3 sunny days here a year. Two, fightlore uploaded this incredible sparring video of Petchtanong, which I will put in the description. I'll link it to it. And Petchtanong has just been announced that he's fighting the man this YouTube channel is pretty much based around, Yuki Yoza, on One Friday Night Fights, I believe. I'm former Cage Warriors champion, 13-3 professional MMA fighter George Hardwick, and let's break it down. It's Friday. We got to teach under 16s at like 5 o'clock, and that's a headache. So I'm just going to let this run. No big fancy edits. Petchtanong there is a man with one shin pad. Just his left shin pad. He is the southpaw. And there's a few reasons why we see this. Let me just move my face to the side. A few times we see this. If you watch Yotan as well, a lot of his sparring clips, he's in one shin pads. And a lot of Thais have this mentality, John Charles Garbowski was talking about it, where they're not really trained to kick super ambidextrously, kicking with both legs. They pretty much just develop one leg as the scalpel, and there's a few good advantages to that. One, you're spending twice the amount of time practicing that leg. You're getting that really strong weapon on one side. If you look at a guy like Singdam's pretty much whole career kicking with just his right leg, and it didn't matter whether his opponent was orthodox or southpaw, he'd kick with that one leg. And if you've got a few weapons off that one side, a knee, a teep, a high kick, a low kick, generally it can be very hard to read because they all look the exact same. It's hard to tell what's coming off that one side, especially when it's been developed in that way. It's a bit like Marcelo Garcia in Jiu-Jitsu, where you only develop like one attack on one side, and then on the other side, you do something completely different. But anyway, just the one shin pad on Petchtanong. Let's start to talk about what's actually going on. Arm blocking there, kicking at the wrist level as a sparring partner. A lot of knee feints from both people. Knee feints, that'll generally cause someone, especially with a Thai background, to bring their own knee up, and then you can time when they put their leg down, knee feint, and then throwing that kick when they put the leg down. Right uppercut from Petchtanong. Petchtanong has some really, really sick boxing. Lead knee feint from Petchtanong, and then he'll step down with that left straight, getting his head off the center line. Getting his head off the center line, obviously, moves him out of the way of his opponent's jab, helps him shift his momentum into it, and he gets that left shoulder lined up with the chin. A lot of the battle in opposite stance is getting your rear shoulder lined up with the chin, so you're not really punching across yourself. Obviously, you can punch across yourself if you have that really good rotation. Conor McGregor, on his run, a lot of the time he had his foot inside when he'd land his left hand. A lot of Robbie Lawler fights, he would have his foot inside, landing his left hand, using that uppercut, kicking the back leg. Because he gets such a deep angle on that right uppercut, easier for him to kick the back leg. Back leg's going to be less conditioned, and it's going to be harder for people to check up, to bring the leg up to check, especially in, that Muay Thai stance, because people are going to be a little bit straighter on that back leg, have a little bit more weight, biased towards that back leg. So it's going to be hard to pick that up. Oh, Super Bon on the corner of the ropes there talking. I hope they make that fight with Super Bon and Noiri. Right hook into left high kick at that kind of wrist level, doing a lot of damage. I wonder if that will be a strategy for Petchtanong, is to kick into that wrist level to try and nullify the counters. Yuki Yoza, though, much happier to counter with volume kicks. I saw someone in the comments saying that he was gassed against Usmanov. He was gassed against Usmanov, and that was just a high-paced fight, and he was still throwing so many kicks. He was happy to push into that level of fatigue as Yuki Yoza. Look at the back leg there. Petchtanong brings the left heel slightly up. It was just on camera a second. A lot of time when you're seeing these opposite stance matchups, the back heel is going to raise off the floor, and they're going to kind of crunch their abs forward, kind of posterior pelvic tilt in, because they want to be ready to spring that weight forward. They might lose a little bit of power compared to swinging back to the heel and then rocking back in with a big kick, but that's going to be far too slow against these good operators. So they keep that back heel up, and then they can throw that round kick really, really quick. It squares the stance up a little bit, so they have to be concerned about that, right straight or left. Ooh, lovely teep. Lovely teep. Obviously, classic Thai stuff. As soon as you start banging that round kick into, the open side, people are going to start to open the stance up to check, and then he puts that teep through the middle. Look how sometimes Petchtanong, he's throwing that left straight. He doesn't throw his left straight, bring his left straight back, and then left kick. When he throws that left straight, his body is in a perfect position to throw that kick. As you throw the left straight, the back heel turns up off the floor, the toes are facing towards your opponent, your lead leg, your lead foot, it's turned out so he can kick straight away. Left straight into left kick, and he also used that right hook to pivot around the side, get himself out the way of his sparring partner's counters. Lovely lean back there. That's another thing with the heel up, is you can kind of lean forward a little bit, give a false sense of distance. If you really want good examples of this in fights, go watch the fights between Singdam and Sanchai. Singdam, you know, the fights that Singdam won, there's a little bit of jiggery pokery going here. Nice wrist on wrist grip. You know, that's something very interesting. He's using his wrist on wrist grip, makes the body lock tighter. If you're doing this in MMA, you can get a really tight body lock and actually draw the air out of people, going wrist on wrist grip underneath someone's ribs. Just the only thing is, if you're doing it from the back, you might expose one hand to fight. But anyway, Singdam against who was I on about? Singdam versus Sanchai. Even though Singdam in the fights that he won was taller, you'd get his head, shoulders on the same level as Sanchai and kind of lean forward, putting weight heavy on the lead leg. This would incentivize Sanchai to throw his left straight, and he would just pull his head back as he throws the right kick. And because his back heel was off the floor, he could throw that right kick really quick. A little bit of hand fighting, kicking into that open side, and Petchtanong using his check off the back leg, catching, underhand catch. Oh, and then throwing that high kick back. That's the thing about the wrist level kick, is it's really good, but it can still be leaned back. Ooh, armbar there. Whoa, whoa. That's okay, techers. You know, boxing gloves on. He could have got his calf. These are all right leg entries. These are all right. But he could have got that calf and that knee on the back of the head more to control the posture. But that was an all right little sequence there. Touching away with the jab. Sometimes touching away with the jab at a slow tempo allows you to switch tempo with your lead hand. You get them used to that tapping, slow, pawing rhythm. There's a right hook into left knee, and then he gets tip to tip to kind of prevent the right knee counter. You know, that right hook into left knee, very close. A little bit more jiggery pokery here. A little bit of fun. I was about to say that uses the edge of the ring there to push him over and then throw a high kick whilst he's sat down, or a body kick that becomes a high kick when he's sat down. I was going to say at the start of the video, you can see how they're in just a random space in the gym, and because they're experienced and they're aware of their position, they're not always going off the mats, and that's something that really high level fighters, people in the gym can do. You know, you always see beginners running off the mats, but then these guys are doing this all the time. They're doing arm bars on the edge of the ring. Kind of WWE. Oh, there's a Thai side kick, pushing them up. Thai side kick is one of the most beautiful moves in combat sports. You know, Samart would teach to always do it like that. Kick to the back leg again. They're going out of bounds. It's turning into Virtual Fighter 3. Lovely lead hand attacks from Petchtanong. Petchtanong has double attacks off of everything, double and triple attacks. If he's throwing his right hand, you don't know if it's a jab, right hook, or an uppercut. If he's throwing his back kick, you don't know if it's a teep, a low kick, a high kick. If he's throwing his left hand, you don't know if it's a left straight, a left uppercut. Double attacks off each side. Ooh, lovely, leading with the rear cross into kind of a screw shot uppercut, framing of the face to prevent the clinch. I don't think Yoza is going to clinch in this situation. This is something that Petchtanong has to watch in his fight. This is probably if he's fighting Yoza. Ooh, he does the Masuka Geri. I need to get the pronunciation. Where is my Kyokushin consultant? But he does that ball of the foot kick into the ribs, and they're going well out of bounds with some Catalina collection stuff here. But, you know, I suspect if he's fighting Yoza and Yoza covers, Yoza's going to be happy to kick back. But if he's fighting Yoza and Yoza covers like that on punches, Yoza's going to throw his left hooks back quite hard. So Petchtanong, I think, if he does land like one or two shots, he's not going to land too many shots. He's going to use the Giorgio Petrosian style. You know, a few straight punches or a hook, and then he's going to put the knee in. The knee obviously does a lot of damage. It could be to the head, it could be to the body. But I think he's going to just put the knee in after one or two punches, you know, if Yoza covers up. Not necessarily to do the damage with the knee, but it's just going to stop Yoza firing back. They get that natural break. Boom. He's doing the ball of the foot kick there. The Masaki Noiri. Really interesting to see how Thais are adding this into the game. And it's very hard to block. You bring your leg up to check, probably it's going to fit through the gap between your check and your guard. You use your arms to block, it's probably going to fit through. And you don't have to swing so full power. We saw Rafael Fiziev. You know, Rafael Fiziev's always using the round kicks and using them at full power. And it's not the best for 3-round fights, cardio-wise. Kicking with the ball of the foot, you can get a lot of damage in it, and it's just so much more efficient. You can't throw full power and put the same turn in that you can with the shin because you are having to place it. But we saw Fiziev using those kicks with the ball of the foot against Rafael dos Anjos. The first time he went into a 5th round, and he got the knockout in the 5th round. Probably by using these more efficient kicking techniques, he would still have the energy to throw that into the clinch, and then out off, ending up out of bounds. The Thai headlock, there was really a headlock era in Thai. Yodvicha and Wanchalam. Yodvicha was really using it a lot, kind of the headlock, pulling them down. And here's a bit of fun silliness. I just rambled, let that run. Go watch the original video because there's amazing pad work in there. Fightlore is one of the best channels on Muay Thai. If there are any takeaways from this, is just using those open side attacks. You don't always have to use both legs. You don't always have to be amazing off the right kick as well as the left kick. You can just stick to one leg. There's downsides to it. If you knacker your foot in a fight, because it's very easy to knacker your foot whilst kicking, you know, you've taken away one of your biggest weapons and you're going to struggle to kick with the right leg. But there's advantages to it. If you're in that opposite stance, you can bring that back heel up to let yourself ready. Be ready. You can use that false sense of distance. And if going for an armbar, make sure the calf and your knee is over the back of the head to control the posture. Subscribe, comment, all that algorithmic nonsense. Check out the Patreon. There's nothing on there. It's literally just like giving a tip to a busker. I'm like an online busker who rambles about Muay Thai and pretends to know about MMA. I'm going to get a Greg's Espresso, probably shit myself, and do some bag work and squats. Have a good day. Blessed Friday. Grazie mille.